Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. We at Thames Water very much appreciate that you've taken the time to join us on this live session so we can provide you with more information on the forthcoming project at the Queen Elizabeth II Reservoir. My name is Hilary Murgatroyd, and I'm a Communications Manager for Thames Water, and I'm responsible for ensuring that you are kept up to date on our work in the area and to respond to any questions and concerns you wish to raise. The project which we are here to talk to you about this evening is the undertaking of essential maintenance work on the transfer tunnels which feed water into and take water out of the Queen Elizabeth II Reservoir. At the same time, we'll also be carrying out a drain down of the reservoir, and we'll go into more depth about this later in the presentation. This evening on our live customer session, I have with me Rachel Whiteman, who is our project manager. And to assist us with the questions and answers part of the event, we also have Arthur Gugan, who represents Bar Hale, who are our delivery partners on the project. This evening, we will be showing you our plans in a presentation, after which we will run a question and answer session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask these throughout the session using the Ask a Question box in the bottom left-hand corner. We will do our best to answer as many questions during the time that we have, but we may not be able to get to all of them. If we're unable to get to your question today, we will include it in an FAQ we will be putting on the Queen Elizabeth II part of our website next week. I'm now going to hand over to Rachel Whiteman, our project manager, to explain the work in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. Good evening, everyone. As Hilary says, I'm Rachel Whiteman, the Thames Water Project Manager. Before I get started on the details of the project, I wanted to give you a brief overview of the Queen Elizabeth II Reservoir. The reservoir itself was built and formally opened by Queen Elizabeth II in 1962. The Knight, Besborough and the Qeii reservoirs are all fed from the raw water pumping station at Walton Works. The Qeii reservoir supplies raw water down to the Hampton and Walton water treatment works, and that feeds into across London. The Qeii reservoir is a large strategic storage reservoir, and it holds 19,623 megalitres of water. This is equivalent to over 19,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. As you can see from the photograph on the top right-hand side, that's an aerial shot of the reservoir. It's big, a lot of water. The surface area is actually 316 acres, and it's got a maximum depth of 17.8 metres when it's full. So, what is this project about and what work will we be doing? Well, we'll be carrying out essential maintenance work on the transfer tunnels which feed into and take water out of the Qeii reservoir. This includes tunnel cleaning, carrying out any minor repairs, then relining the inlet and outlet tunnels. Before we can start work in the tunnels, we'll be sinking new shafts to allow safe access for workers and materials into the inlet and outlet tunnels. This essential maintenance work is a statutory requirement under the Reservoirs Act. So Thames Water, we need to do this work. The reservoir will need to be drained down to a low level so that work can be carried out safely, and to minimise the duration of the work. We can't leave water fully in the reservoir when we're working on both the inlet and the outlet tunnel. This will minimise the disruption to the neighbours and those nearby as well, because we're able to complete both tunnels at the same time when we have the reservoir drained down. We're working closely with the Environment Agency to ensure there are no adverse effects on the River Thames and its tributaries, and all necessary environmental impact assessments have already been carried out. You might be wondering what would happen with the fish that are in the reservoir. Well, we'll be making sure that they stay alive, because we're retaining a depth of approximately 6 metres of water in the reservoir, and we'll be pumping oxygen in to keep them alive. So where and when will we be working? Well, We've already carried out trial holes and surveys to check the existing assets and utilities at the new shaft locations that are required in Walton Road and also on the Qeii 2 outlet site. In order to carry out the cleaning, repair and relining works to the inlet tunnel, we'll be closing Walton Road to through traffic for 2 months from the 26th of April. This is so that we can safely construct the new shaft on the inlet tunnel. The yellow cross on the slide just along in Walton Road shows you where the approximate location of where that shaft's going to be. Once we've sunk the access shaft, then we'll be able to reopen Walton Road to through traffic, but it will only be one side of the road that's open, and that will be controlled with temporary traffic lights. The pedestrian footway that's on the north side of the road will remain open at all times. Once the shaft's complete, tunnel cleaning and inspection work will then start from that new shaft in Walton Road. Whilst the work at the inlet shaft is ongoing, we'll be sinking the other new shaft on the outlet tunnel at the Qeii 2 reservoir site, which is accessed from Molesley Road. We'll then be cleaning and inspecting the outlet tunnel in preparation for the relining work from this shaft. Relining of the inlet tunnel will start in August 21 and carry on until approximately December. And on the outlet tunnel, the shaft at the outlet tunnel shaft on the Qeii 2 site, the work there, the relining work there will be from October 21 through to February 22. For a large proportion of the time, we'll be working 24 hours, 7 days a week when we're actually doing that relining work. We'll be placing concrete throughout the daytime and fixing steel overnight. And typically there will be 6 or 7 concrete trucks that will be visiting the site each day. Once the relining works are complete, the shafts will be backfilled. We'll reinstate Walton Road as soon as we can so that the other side of the road can be fully reopened and the traffic signals removed. At the Bulmans Field site, thank you, there's an existing shaft providing access onto the tunnel. If you look at the slide there, on the red dot shows the location of the Bulmans Field site. So many people driving along the road wouldn't really even perhaps realise that it's there, but it is an existing Thames Water site, like I say, with an access shaft down onto the tunnel. So on that site, we don't need to sink a new shaft there, but we will be using that shaft to access the tunnel. So we'll be setting up a compound there in mid-June, and we'll be using a large crane to lift off the cover slab there to get into the existing shaft so that we can safely lower men and materials into and out of the shaft while we're doing relining works. Initially we'll start with cleaning and inspection works from there, and then the relining is planned to start in October. That will carry on until early into the new year. Again, we'll be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a large proportion of this time while we're doing that relining work. Here's a plan to show the working locations. So the red cross is the location of where we'll be sinking that shaft. We've got a number of yellow crosses on the drawings there that show where the site compounds are. Our main compound and offices will be located in the bottom left yellow, where the bottom left yellow cross is. If you wish to talk to anyone on site about the works, you'll find someone in this office at all times. Or if you see someone out working on any of the other sites, do please feel free to talk to anyone about the work. I'm sure all of the workmen will be happy to help. Mentioned earlier on that the reservoir needs to be drained down to do the work, so that we can safely carry out the work and minimise the overall duration of the work and hence disruption. So we'll be draining down the reservoir to a depth of approximately 6 metres, and that will start from the middle of April. The water, as I mentioned before, will be draining through down to the Walton and Hampton water treatment work, so it's not going to be wasted at all. The photograph shown on the slide there actually gives the shows how the reservoir looked when it was drained down fully in 2007. Just like to point out that we will be retaining, like I say, approximately 6 metres of water in the reservoir, so it won't look quite the same this time round. Most of the mud at the bottom of the reservoir, that'll all be covered up, and a number of the lower structures there would be covered still. We'll be taking care of the fish, as I mentioned as well, adding oxygen into the water to make sure that they are kept fit and healthy. We're working closely with the Environment Agency to ensure that there's no adverse effect on the River Thames and its tributaries. We've also notified all the other stakeholders, including the Drinking Water Inspectorate, the DWI, Ofwat, DEFRA, the Surrey Wildlife Trust and the Port of London Authority, all that have potentially could be impacted by the works or need to know about the works that are going to be going on because of the different way that Thames Water is going to need to manage the way that we abstract water from the River Thames during this work. Put together a summary timeline. We have sites that will be setting up at the inlet shaft ahead of the main construction works, and that will be happening very shortly in Walton Road, ahead of the road closure at the end of April. As I mentioned earlier on, there's the drain down that will start in the middle of April, planned for the 19th. And then the tunnel relining works will follow on from there after the shaft sinking at the sites. All of the work is due to be completed with the main works will be completed through in the early part of 2022, with final reinstatement and the sites being fully demobilised by June 2022. Just like to want to show you how we want to work with you to ensure that you're kept up to date and are fully aware of the progress of our works, and to let you know how you might be impacted. So things that we've needed to consider is the proximity of the properties to see if these would be impacted, but you shouldn't be affected by we shouldn't be affecting any properties or businesses, as the nearest shaft is 100 metres away from the Walton Road works and 40 metres away from any properties in Molesley Road. In terms of noise, well, we always try to be considerate with noise as best as we can with any of our construction work. We've planned our work to have a minimal impact on your quality of life. There's an increased noise during the day and some noise during the day, and there'll be some noise at nights during our continuous working phase, but we will try extremely hard to keep this all to a minimum. The noise that you could hear at night would only be the teams arriving and going to work, as all the work itself is actually within the tunnel. We'll perform only the least noisy activities during the night time. Anywhere where there would be possible to be a bit more noise would be, from operations of plant would be during the day. In terms of working times, well, we'll be working Monday to Friday, 8 through until 5, plus an extra hour at the beginning and the end of each day for non-noisy activities such as inductions and team briefings. When we come to do the actual relining works, it will be a continuous operation, as I mentioned before, 24 hours, 7 days a week for periods. We have to work continuously for this type of work because if we stop, it could cause problems where there are joints in the lining. Working continuously protects the integrity of the new tunnel lining. In terms of water supplies, well, throughout our work, there will be no impact on your water supplies. This is a raw water project, so it's water that's come from the river before it gets through to the treatment process. So the outage of the tunnel won't have any impact on your water supplies. In terms of any impact on business, we're aware that some businesses may feel impacted by our work, potentially from the road closure. If you feel that the business has been directly impacted by our street works, then we have an easy 4-stage process, business loss of profits complaints compensation process. Further details of this can be found at the Thames Water website, thameswater.co.uk/loss of profits. That's actually given and shown on the slide as well. In terms of traffic management, throughout the work, as mentioned before, the pedestrian access will be maintained along there. There'll be no impact on things like bin collections, that will remain unaffected. The traffic diversion for Walton Road will be clearly signposted. I can now briefly take you through the proposed diversion route that's been agreed with Surrey County Council. This is also shown on the information leaflet that you'll have received with the customer letter. So the drawing shows the official diversion route that will be clearly signposted. I'm sure a lot of local people will know their own preferred routes based on where they need to go. The official diversion route is provided for larger vehicles, HGVs, etc., and is set up for people who don't know their way. If you have a preferred route outside of our road closure, so please feel free to use it. I'll now hand back to Hilary, who will talk further about our priority services register and how we provide assistance to customers who may need additional support.
Thank you, Rachel. As mentioned, we don't anticipate that there will be any water supply interruptions during this project, but as part of our ongoing work to support customers, we always encourage customers who might need that extra bit of support to register on our priority services register. A lot of customers with extra needs may not be aware that they can get extra support from Thames Water, especially during an operational issue such as a burst water main. We have highlighted those groups of customers who we typically offer support to, and we really understand that vulnerability comes in all shapes and forms, and it doesn't discriminate by age or circumstance. We hope you will never need it, but if there are any issues with your water supply, then it's important for you to share your needs and requirements so we can tailor our service to you. Our priority services register is free, so if you know of any neighbours or anyone who may need extra help because of their particular circumstances, please contact our extra care team. And just to note that the pensionable age that we refer to is state pension age, and families with children over 5 are still eligible for support if they have other requirements, as there are no age restrictions to the other categories. To register, you can email for a bulk delivery of forms if you're a charity or an organised support group, or if you're a customer who feel that you may need further support, then you can register on our website at www.thameswater.co.uk/priority services, or call our extra care team on 0800 009 3652. So we've now come to the stage where we have a Q&A session. I'm just going to double check to see if we've actually had any questions come through. And I can't see that there have actually been any submitted. However, we have run through and given details of the project, and all of the information that you see will be on our website. I'm going to close the session. However, if you do have a question that you would like to ask, or if there's anything that's perhaps going to prompt any questions later, then we will have an FAQ on the Queen Elizabeth, the second page of our website next week, to capture any concerns or issues. And please feel free to contact us if there is an issue specific to you or your property. You can do this by visiting our webpage, which is www.thameswater.co.uk, Queen Elizabeth II, or email customer.feedback@thameswater.co.uk, or call us on 0800 316 9800, quoting reference BB 70008941. Okay, there has been a comment which has come through, which is referring to the possibility of a large increase in traffic coming along Western Avenue due to road closures and traffic lights, and a request to put up clear signage that no lorries can come along this route as there is a lorry ban on Western Avenue. Also a request to put in place traffic calming measures and a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on Eastern Avenue, Western Avenue, I think, for the duration of the works, so that we do not have lots of speeding traffic. Arthur, I wondered if you could possibly provide a comment on the traffic management that we're putting in place, particularly to observe the speed limits as the customer has requested.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll check the conditions that the local authority have given us with our permits and our road closure and the conditions that go with it. And if they haven't put them in there, we will put some signage up with the local police's consent, just to remind people there is a weight limit on that road, and it is a national speed limit of whatever it is, and whether that's 30 or whether it's 20, that's all we can do is put that up. We can't put a 5 mile an hour or a 10 mile an hour, excuse me, mileage restriction on without police consent and a local authority permit to do so. We can reinforce the national and what's there already, and I can come back with firm answers outside of this presentation.
Thanks, Arthur. And we'll be sure to make sure that that question is answered in our FAQ, which we will be putting on our website. There is also another question which has come in, and it's asking if we have contacted Wayland's waste site and the event site. Arthur, I wondered if I could possibly ask if you could answer that, please, if these particular venues have been contacted.
I will check to ensure they have been contacted. It's one of the things that we do as a matter of course with local communities as well as police and other emergency services. So I will check. I suspect they have been, but I will just make sure.
Okay. We will make sure that we do contact
Yes.
other organisations and any other large sites close to the project. We have had another question in, which is, are we likely to hear more noise from the water pump when draining the reservoir, as currently it is audible from 11 PM until 5 AM some nights? Rachel, I wondered if you could address that one, please.
Thank you, Lou. It's something we can look into. We need to understand where the reservoir itself drains by gravity through to the treatment works. So the majority of as the reservoir is draining, like I say, that there wouldn't be any additional noise. I'm not sure where the noise that's being referred to is coming from, whether that's currently from the Walton pumping station. But perhaps if the customer would be kind enough just to confirm the location of that, then we can look into that, and I can make inquiries through with our operational colleagues to see what the see what the problem there might be. Obviously, it's an ongoing problem at the moment. It's something we can, make inquiries about, like I say, with our operational colleagues. But I don't believe from the pumping, draining down the reservoir, which will take approximately 10 weeks to happen. That will happen by gravity, so there'll be no additional pumping there. There will be for a short period of time, just a few days, if that, when we're draining down the tunnel, just the last bit of water that can't drain by gravity, as we're pumping that out at the Bournemans Field site. So there'll be a couple of days pumping there, but that wouldn't that should be well, we put acoustic cording around that anyway, and we'll make sure that that's a quiet operation.
Thanks, Rachel. And again, we will look into that particular issue and establish where the noise is coming from. I can't see that we've got any further questions, so I am going to close the session now. So it now leaves me to thank you all for taking the time to join this forum, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.